friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. Today I have a 50-pound bag of seed potatoes on my counter, and that is because it is almost time to plant potatoes. But we are still a few weeks early, but now is the time to get those potatoes several weeks early because so that you can prepare them for planting. You can absolutely just plop a potato in the ground, but if you want to maximize your yields and get the most potato plants out of the existing amount of potatoes that you have, there are a couple of things that you can do to maximize your yields. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to properly prepare your potatoes for planting. Wow. Okay, let's get started. If you would like help planting a productive garden, scroll down to the description box of this video and click this link for a free garden printable. We calculated quantities for a year's supply of the most common garden vegetables and organized them into a neat chart to help you plan. We'll send it straight to your inbox. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials on gardening and food preservation, food storage, and more. So first, I want to talk about grocery store potatoes versus seed potatoes. The tips I'm going to be sharing with you today will apply to both, so whether you plant them from the store or get seed potatoes, totally fine. The highly recommended way is the certified seed potatoes. You're guaranteed for them to be disease-free, and since blight is a huge problem with potatoes, it is highly recommended to go with certified seed potatoes. But depending on what year it is, depending on where you live, depending on supply and demand, certified seed potatoes can be pricey. That has been the case in my area for the last couple of years, so I have chosen to grow grocery store potatoes and have had great success, no issues there. But this year it was the opposite. This year I couldn't find organic Yukon Gold, which is what we want to grow, Yukon Gold potatoes in store for a decent price anywhere. And I was stressing out about it, but I shouldn't have been. I should have prayed about it from the very beginning, because the Lord blessed me with a 50-pound bag of organic, or not organic, but certified Yukon Gold seed potatoes, 50-pound bag for $35. And that is just one of the best deals that I have ever gotten for the amount of potatoes that we need to grow for our family. As a very general rule of thumb, I try to plan for triple yields on what I am growing. So if I'm putting 50 pounds in the ground, I'm going to kind of plan and map out 150 pounds of potatoes that I'm going to be getting. So many factors go into how many potatoes you're going to be getting from what you put into the ground. So I'm not going to go into all that, but very general rule of thumb, triple what you put into the ground is basically what you can expect. So my goal was 150 pounds this year, so 50 pounds was exactly the amount that I needed. So I have grown from the grocery store successfully. You can absolutely do that if that's what's going to be budget friendly and best for your area. But certified seed potatoes are another fantastic way. Either way, you are going to want to sprout them first. I have my notes here. I don't want to forget. Oh yeah. So if you have ever left a bag of potatoes in your pantry, it's in a dark area, it's behind closed doors, because pantries are typically, like a little closet, and you have forgotten about them, they have probably sprouted. You've probably seen those before. They got real wrinkly and they started putting out these kind of really weird looking long spindly shoots. You can put that in the ground and it will likely grow you some potatoes, but it's not going to be very big. The potatoes aren't going to be very big or very productive doing it that way, because those long spindly sprouts, the reason why they get so long in a cupboard or a covered area, a dark area, it's because they are searching for light. And those long spindly shoots that potato is already putting so much energy into producing that long shoot that by the time it starts producing the potatoes, you're not going to get as big of potatoes. So if that happens, as painful as it is, you might want to go ahead and break off that long spindly shoot and then go ahead and do the re-sprout your potatoes the way that I'm going to be talking about in this video. So just wanted to share that before I forgot. But whether you use seed potatoes or grocery store potatoes, you're going to want to sprout them first. If you are, let's say life happens and you just can't get your hands on potatoes with enough time to prepare them, don't stress about it. Plop those things in the ground. You'll still get some potatoes. Again, this is just maximizing, optimizing our potato harvest. So here is what a seed potato looks like. They are still nice and dirty, which is what we want the potatoes to be. And they are already starting to see, you have your eyes. And everywhere that you see a little eye, which is just basically a very tiny little bud coming out of your potato, that's going to turn into a sprout. And that sprout will turn into a potato, a cluster of potatoes actually. So with this one, let's see, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. There's actually a cluster of 3 right here, 5. So on this potato that I have not sprouted yet, I see 5 eyes. What I can do is put this potato in a cool area, but in an area that is bright, that is getting bright light, preferably sunlight. It doesn't have to be direct sunlight, it can be indirect sunlight, but preferably you want it to be light. The reason why is because we need the cool condition, but we need the light to generate this potato, to kind of wake this potato up out of dormancy and get it to start sprouting. But the reason why we want to put it in light is we already know it'll sprout without light, right? If you've ever left a bag in the pantry, you know it doesn't have to have light to sprout. But you'll end up with those big long shoots, and we don't want that. We want little sprouts, little nubs that are just like this far off of the potato that are nice and green. And that is going to be, that's what we're going for here. And in order to achieve that, we need cool conditions, but nice bright light. For me, that's going to be in my bathroom of all places. I'm going to be stacking, I have like just a little organizer thing that has several shelves, and I'm going to be laying out the potatoes on those shelves. I'm going to be putting them in my bathroom next to the window because that is a south side facing, not south side, is it east? I don't know what it is, but it gets the most sun for the longest amount of time per day, and that's going to be ideal. You could set these in a windowsill. Even if you are in a pinch and there is nowhere in your house that can get bright natural light, you can go ahead and put a grow light on these and just to get them to sprout. So 2 reasons why we want to pre-sprout our potatoes if we can. If you can't, don't stress about it. But if you can, the one reason is because it sets us up to be able to then cut them. This whole process of sprouting potatoes and then cutting potatoes is called chitting. I'm not really sure why, but that's what it's called. And it's just a matter of taking one potato and turning it into multiple potato chunks for multiple potato plants. And the reason why we want to get those sprouts is because you want to make sure that every chunk of potato has at least 1 sprout on it. You don't want to accidentally cut a potato that doesn't, like if I were to cut right here, let's say this little thing is not a sprout, it's just where it got nicked. Let's say I were to cut the potato here and this is my chunk, there are no eyes on this chunk, and that would be a wasted seed potato. So we want to go ahead and sprout our potatoes so that we can clearly see where we need to cut so that we can have 1 sprout per potato. So once these 2 sprouts get bigger, for instance, here's one and here's a cluster. Once these sprout, I will be able to clearly see, make sure it's viable, make sure everything's going good. In a couple of weeks, it doesn't take long. I would say 2 weeks max of being in that bright light but still kind of cool environment. And y'all, I don't have a root cellar. I don't have a separate cold storage area. I live in the south, so all I have is our central AC that just heats and cools our house. So you're not having to do anything super special to these potatoes, and I wouldn't either. Anyway, I mean, they're just potatoes, right? So just letting you know, your indoor house temperature, ours thermostat is set to 70 degrees. That's going to be fine. But ideally, cooler the better, but still bright light. Anyway, it's only going to take about 2 weeks before you get decent, good sprouts where you can tell this potato is viable, it's sprouting, and we can clearly see those little short, stubby green buds. Here and here, then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut right down the center so that I can get one chunk with this eye over here and one chunk with this eye right here. And that's the whole point of sprouting, so we can clearly see that and start cutting up our potatoes. And then all of a sudden, this one seed potato is now 2 potato plants. So the number 2 reason to go ahead and pre-sprout your potatoes is just to get a leg up on potato season. If you live in the South where I do, or just in a hot growing area, potatoes thrive in cooler temperatures. They do need those warmer temperatures toward the end of the growing season, but if it goes from cold to really hot fast, like it does here in zone 7B to 8A, potatoes don't like that. So we need to get them into the ground a lot sooner than what I think. Like the very first time I ever grew potatoes, I didn't plant them until the end of March. Way too late. And then the next year I grew potatoes. I said, okay, I'm going to start them a lot sooner. And I grew them in the end of February. They did okay. And I did that another year. I did that at the end of February. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. But this year, I'm really wanting to get these into the ground no later than Valentine's Day. So that's why I am starting this sprouting process right now. It is February 3rd, I think, at the time of filming. So I am hoping that that will give me enough time to get these sprouted and into the ground in February, because that will just give me a little bit of a head start. They already are starting to sprout. I want to encourage that so that once they get into the ground, they can really hit the ground running, so to speak, and I can just get a very slight leg up on the potato growing season. So that's number 2 reasons why you might want to pre-sprout your potatoes. Okay, y'all, I hope that was helpful to you. That is it, and we'll see you next time. Bye.